So if we look in our layers palette and our artboard, let's see what we have. You should only have so far design 1, design 2, design 3, and design 4. You may have started yesterday to put the new layers for the backgrounds. So let me close some things so I don't confuse you. I'm going to turn off all of that. Now we look where our first artboard was and this is design 1. So we have design 1. You're going to put a new artboard right next to design 1. If you look, you notice that I have design 1 background. I just want you guys to practice creating backgrounds because that's how you get your color behind objects. So if I turn off my design 1, you notice that I have blue. Design 1 background is here. It's locked and the visibility is on. When it's locked and the visibility is still on, you'll still see the background or the color or your object, whichever it may be you have on a layer, but you'll have a pencil with a line through it, so you cannot do anything on it. If the visibility is turned off, of course, you still can't do anything on it. If it's up and active, then you can work on your background. But for the most part, when you're working on an art piece, you want to keep your background visible and locked so that you can see what colors or objects that you have that's in the background, so that you can put your objects that you're working on in the right place within your composition. Alright, going from there. Design 1. Notice I have both design 1, two versions of design 1. The first version is here on the original artboard, which is artboard 1. But then you have a copy, which is simply edit copy, edit paste, or command C and command V, and you make a new copy. So let's focus on this design. If you notice, the lines are dashed. So I'm just going to tell you guys how to quickly just make some designs quickly by changing the design of your stroke. Another thing I'll teach too, when you create a live paint group like you guys are going to do, you'll end up with these little boxes. That's your live paint group. So let's go over how to put color in. So I'll turn off design 2 and work over here, design 1. Alright, how did I get the color in here? And I'm not gonna go through taking this apart. I'll just go to my canvas, which is here. When you're using your live paint group and you guys have several lines that are going here, and it looks as if you have a square, but that's really your artboard. So you actually have to create a square for your design to be contained in. Sometimes I call it a frame as well. So you'll do a frame the size of the artboard. Remember, I'm just doing this up here so you can just see how everything works. You have to make sure that your lines are touching your frame, because what you're getting ready to do is create space where there was no space before. If you notice, you have the space here, but it's not closed. When you give your frame, you are closing your space. And so you're going to do this for each of your designs. And you can do that first once you create the copy of your artboard. Alright, so now that, and I'm going to leave one open just so you can see what happens. Once you create your frame, you want to select everything. You go to your live paint bucket tool, drag your cursor back across, and you'll notice it'll say click to make live paint group. So I click once. Now if you notice, the spaces are active. So I can go in And usually it's best to just deselect your object, then choose a color. You can simply go in and put in your color. Now notice it's not reading this line right here. It's not reading the line because it's not touching. So even after you've already made your live paint group, you just click on the line that's not touching and make it touch. Go back to your live paint, and now it sees it. And make sure I put my right color in. So the live paint group allows you to create space that could be filled. So more of a shape. It actually creates a shape because you have the border. So you're going to do that for each of your designs. You're going to give yourself a frame first. Give yourself your frame first. Go to my color copy. Have I color copied yet? Haven't color copied on this one yet. But you will go through the live paint bucket for all of these because you want to be able to, if you look, I have space that now I can fill with color. Same thing with this design here. I can fill it with space. Haven't decided how I want the last one to look, so I haven't done the live paint group just yet. If I come here, if you notice, here is my object here, live paint bucket tool. So you just select it. I've already have it together. So once I click, now I have little spaces that I can fill with color. All right. So live paint bucket and setting backgrounds. Backgrounds can simply exist on a different layer, and it covers the artboard, and you lock it. All right. Now back to the first design. I don't want this to be too long, so I may have to break it up. So now we're going back to the, I'm going to get rid of that so that doesn't become confusing. Don't need it. All right, so in our second design over here, I'm just going to go over here and move it just for organization's sake. And if you want to, you can always name your sublayers. Like this could be my stroke with dashes. And when your artwork gets big, you can start naming all of your layers so that it won't become confusing. So let's go over here. If you notice, I have dashes. When you have a live paint group, everything is still grouped, but you don't have to ungroup it in order to work with the individual pieces. So you simply double click, and if you notice, you will get this gray menu up here. It just lets you know that you are in isolation mode. Make sure you note that, isolation mode. So now if I'm looking at my lines, you can notice I have each individual line that I can choose. But even in here, you can still select everything. You go to the stroke. If you notice right now, if I take the dashes off, and this is stroke, and let me go back. When you select everything, look in your control panel here. You'll see the word stroke. You click on stroke, you'll see dashed lines. You click dashed lines with your object selected, and you get dashed lines. You have two different icons here. This says preserves each dash in gap length. This actually makes sure that your corners are closed. So if I want my corners closed and not open, once you get your dashes, you can do that. All right, notice here you can give yourself a dash size and a gap size. Right now I only have a dash size, and you can always change your dash size. So how big or how small you want your dashes to look. Right now that's 6 points. Then you can also change the gap in between your dashes. So let's just say I want a 2-point gap. Press return, and you notice how close it came together. So you can experiment with this, but This is the only thing I'm trying to teach at the moment, is to use the dash lines, because you can use those as part of your designs when you're putting your currency together. So I'm going to stop this video so that it's not too long. But once again, we went over creating the background. We went over changing your stroke, entering isolation mode. Always make sure you pay attention to your control panel, which lets you know where you are. How to get out of isolation mode is to simply press escape on your keyboard and you're out of isolation mode. I'll continue with the next design on another movie so that this one doesn't become too long. Make sure you pay attention to your layers. If you look at mine here, you notice I have design 1 background, design 2 background, and so forth. If you select the layer first and then you press the new layer icon, you'll notice that the layer is above the existing layer that you're on. That could help you out a little bit. So I'm just going to trash that one because I don't need it. So make sure you guys are taking notes. I'll come back to let you know what I'm going to actually name Artboard 8 because I have no name for it at the moment. Okay, that's it.